big. Bro, look at that seaweed. It looks like a forest down there.
Oh, it's expensive. Oh, wow. Oh, look at the little ones.
They gotta be in like
little tiny things. Wow.
Look at it.
All right, guys, how we feeling today?
Yeah.
All right. Are you amused yet?
Yes.
All right. Well, my name's Sam. I'm going to be your deckhand tour guide today. So I'm going to be going through with you guys, identifying each species that you're going to be seeing here. So we haven't seen the full. You see a fish. Okay. How many of you are first time in California here? Raise your hand. So you might notice those orange fish, right?
Uh-huh.
You see all of them. So those orange fish are actually the only tropical fish that we have in the cove here. Those are called Garibaldi, named after an old Italian general named Giuseppe Garibaldi who liked to wear bright colors into battle. So if you see all those orange fish all over the place at the Express or pretty much everywhere that you walk and look into the water, that's what they are, Garibaldi, the California state saltwater fish. Now you're probably wondering what the names are of these guys, right?
Yeah.
All right, well that's George. That's Fred. Okay, all right. All right, maybe it's my first day, okay, all right. So if you pay attention to the most common fish we have here, you see that they have a white spot on their back. They have those pretty blue eyes. Those are called opali, and they get their name from those cream-colored white spots they have on their back that almost look like a set of eyes. So that's how they got their name of opali. You can see the orange one, the Garibaldi. The ones with the brown checkerboard pattern on their back, those are called calico bass, also known as bull bass or sugar bass. So I'm going to go up and feed these guys real quick, and I'll be right back on the mic in just a second here, but I'm sure you guys want them all around the boat, right? All right, let me go get that to happen for you. Otherwise, just sit back and enjoy the show here.
Oh, that's why they smell.
Yeah, that's why.
Which one? The bass? What's that?
Yeah, we're swarmed.
Oh yeah, those are really good to eat. They also have the local name of sugar bass because of their sweet tasting meat. They have to be 14 inches to keep, and you can't fish for them in the cove since this is a marine preserve.
Oh, wow.
It's a white meat, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and feed those fish real quick. I'll be right back down up on the mic here.
Oh, my goodness. Look at you. How many hours I've been fishing and never used that coastal one either.
I want to see one of them black and yellow blockers.
There they go.
And
There they go. Oh, look, there they go. Oh my God. Okay, look on the other side. You get fed. Oh, yeah. Oh, here we go. Over here. Oh my God.
Some of these are actually pretty big, huh? I didn't even realize that they were that big until.
It's like a ton of fish. Those are like 5-pounders.
That was weird.
That's all. Look, they just hanging in.
They have their people with the tops of these.
How you doing?
All right, so one of the biggest questions I usually get about all these fish is, why are they not afraid of the boat? Everywhere that you usually go in a boat, usually they're afraid of it, right? You can't just get fish to come up to your boat. You have to get them to either be attracted to a fishing line or something like that, or give them food. Well, usually they don't even go near you if you have food. These fish are actually kind of conditioned and used to tour boats through here because for the past 70 years there's been no fishing, no spearing, trapping, netting, or harvesting of any of these guys. So that's why there's so many. Those calico bass are very sought after too for their meat, not just their meat, but they're also a popular game catch. They're very closely related to the freshwater largemouth bass, and you may notice the similarities if you've ever seen the two fish before. Oh, you've seen two fishes. Nice. Well, anyways, so there's also one more fish that I forgot to mention. It's a type of perch. It's called the half-moon perch, and it has a half or crescent moon-shaped tail to it. It has a little bit of a bluish tint to it. It also has a black dot on each side of its head. I see a sheep head right there.
There.
It's right there. It's a small guy right there. It's got a red stripe down the middle. So ever since May of 1960, you have not been able to fish in here. So that's why all these fish are conditioned to come right on up to the boat here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, big orange fish in the background.
And if it looks like they're staring at you, it's because they are. They actually have a really good sense of eyesight. Also, you're the aquarium this time, and you're the specimen they're looking at.
I'm weak.
Yeah, they say fish have the best eyesight of any animal on the planet.
That fish is
There's actually a very rocky, reefy bottom here, and that's how the island was pretty much formed, was by all clay, rocks, and minerals. Two tectonic plates collided with each other, forming an underwater mountaintop over millions of years. So that's how this island was formed, along with the other several channel islands. So that's how this island was formed. So it's just an underwater rock pretty much. That's why our water drops off so deeply, so quickly. You'll go off 100 feet offshore and it drops off right away. And that's because we're just sitting on an underwater mountaintop right here. It's not a volcanic mountaintop or anything, so don't worry about that. It wasn't formed by aliens either. That process is called subduction, so those two tectonic plates colliding together, forming that underwater mountaintop. Garibaldi also like to build their nests in these shallow areas here, so you might see a lot of those guys as well. Usually the male will build the nest, and if a female likes the nest, she'll go ahead and lay her eggs in the nest. But the male's actually pretty antisocial, so actually after the male will scare the female away after she's done laying her eggs. So like, shoot, get out of here. Just kind of wants to be on his own. Juvenile Garibaldi have these bright blue spots on their back though. So if you look at the smaller ones, you might see little blue spots. They're small pinhole spots, but they're very noticeable if you actually see a juvenile. So amongst other creatures we have living in the cove, you might see possibly a lobster. They're nocturnal, so we don't see a lot of them during the day, but at nighttime they usually light up the whole bottom when they come out and they start to feed. They're mainly bottom feeders. They like to eat things that are either dead or decomposing, so that's mainly what they eat. So everything on the bottom that goes through the natural cycle of life ends up on the bottom, and the lobsters eat them. So everything gets recycled. Right now it's 62 degrees, so it's a little bit chilly. But if you, what's that? We do, yeah. It usually lasts from late September, September 28th, and usually the end date is not very consistent. Sometimes it's March 14th, or it could go all the way into late March, like March 20th. Last year it was March 14th that they ended it. I don't know what the end date is going to be. It's in March, mid-March this year. So that's for recreational. Commercial is a little bit different. I'm not familiar with the dates on that. It's usually about a week sooner and a week later They use traps, yeah. So the recreational fishermen use these big hoops. They're called, well, hoop nets. So they're either rigid where they're just not collapsible and they just sit on the bottom, or they fully collapse and then the bait just sits flat on the bottom. The lobster comes along, eats the bait, and then right when they pull it up, it puts a big net around them, and that's how they're caught. So that's a recreational use of them. Commercial fishermen use big cages and they have to go through a funnel, and once they get in they can't get out, so that's how they do it. Sometimes they go out deeper. There's no regulation on that. Lobster go down to a maximum of about 200 feet. The California spiny lobster. Our California lobster out here, they look like any other lobster, they just don't have claws. They also have a little bit bigger of a tail too. So very similar, yes, very, very similar. The Florida lobster have a little bit lighter of a color, but otherwise pretty much the same species practically. We also get horn shark, shovel-nosed guitar fish. We get soup fin shark. Every now and then you might see one of those. They are very nocturnal though, so I think the only shark you're going to see on this tour is me. You think you might see a shark? Well, you got to keep looking. Keep looking. If you do see one, point it out so everyone can see it, all right? So we're going to be approaching our second feeding area soon. I'm going to go ahead and feed them again. There's going to be a whole smorgasbord of the same species we've been seeing, but they're going to congregate around the boat again slowly as we make our way up here. This is called South Wall Reef right here. It drops off very quickly. So you might notice that one side is deep blue water and the other side is reef. And that really has to do in coincidence with what I was talking about, subduction forming the whole island. So this side is really deep, and this side it's just a big rock face.
I think some of these fish are falling.
Calico bass can actually live up to 32 years in the wild, so they can live a really nice long life, assuming they don't succumb to predation or any sort of disease. The opali, the largest one ever caught, was 12 pounds, and they only get about 10 years old, so they don't live as long. They're also more of a bottom feeder, and they're very opportunistic. They'll eat pretty much everything. So they eat little crustaceans, mollusks, they'll eat chunks of seaweed. Sometimes you might see the seaweed hanging off the roll bars here they might munch on. They also like to eat algae growing off the sides of other boats, and usually pilings and bridges. Alright, I'm going to step outside. I'm going to go ahead and feed these fish, and I'll be back down on the second half of the trip when we start making our way back through the cove.
There's some fish, small, see? Look, that fish got a bite taken out. Right there. I told you. It had a bite taken out. somebody, I think another fish, dude. Oh, you all wasn't tripping.
It's crazy how their eyes look.
I know, it's beautiful.
It's calico bass. Everything they got on man. See the calico? Green eye, it's man.
I can see the one David Mom was talking about.
It went fast.
Those some big fish out there.
But it was not this.
Or somebody could have been trying to fish. They wasn't supposed to.
No. It was a bite.
Oh, Lord.
When you eat it, you're going to go. It wasn't one of the fish that we tried.
That's some hungry fish. Still lots of food there, guys.
Oh, that's
Those are the
it looks like a half moon.
apple. The ones that kind of bluish gray.
Yeah, I was just saying that. Yeah, that one looks like a half moon right there.
Uh-huh. Those are tasty too. They're good.
I see a couple of them now.
Oh my God.
Those fish.
Oh, here we go.
Mama. Those fish, the ones that pretty much are holding on this side right now,
Yeah.
those took off.
How is that? Wow. I never seen that before. You sure?
Yes, and I just seen coming out of the water.
Are you sure it didn't just travel up?
They're coming to get you.
No, because it's not the first one I've seen.